Hello everybody. I'm going to talk about Dresden Files number 5, Death Masks by Jim Butcher. This one, lots of interesting stuff coming up in this one. As people have told me, some new plot lines laid down, things start to tangle together. So this one is taking off quite a bit more than the fourth one. The fourth one, which it's a step up from that, which was still good, but it was not quite as good as 1, 2, and 3, let's say. So in these, there's a couple major plot lines, and one of them is, it starts out, Harry goes on a talk show. Now, this is supposed to be about magic, and one of the guests is like, yeah, this isn't real and all that, and Harry can't really provide a demonstration because technology doesn't work very well around him. So if he decided to throw some magic demonstration out, it could wreck the cameras or something. I thought that was a little weak, but as a story point, it does work, because most of the world, like 99.9 something% of the world, doesn't think that things like wizards are real, even though Harry is a working public advertising wizard. Another guest is a vampire who does not get revealed publicly as a vampire, but Harry recognizes him. He is a full-blown vampire. Turns out vampires have infested South America, and in the previous books we have learned that there's a war going on in the background. He hasn't presented it in, face forward in the books. It's just in the background that there is a war between the wizards and the vampires. So the vampire that shows up in this says, I'm challenging you to a duel. And if I kill you, that'll end the war. You're going to die no matter what. I'm here to kill you. But he's kind of honorable sounding about it, like he respects Harry. And Harry doesn't want to do this either. But it's going to happen. Because of this duel, a new and I think the most interesting character to me in these, it's an arbiter, like a referee of sorts, for this duel. And at first you think it's this large hulking man who pulls up in some vehicle, but it turns out he's just a bodyguard and driver for a 7-year-old little girl who is called the Archive. And she's like, that's who I am. I'm the Archive. I don't have another name. He says, let me call you something else. And he comes up with the name Ivy for her. And she likes it. And he had a kitty. Dresden has a cat. It's a 30-pound cat. I should call it a kitty. And she's a cute kitty. So she's a 7-year-old girl. The thing is, it's a hand-me-down to each generation. Her mother was the same way. The knowledge of all of human history is in her head. That's why she's the Archive. 100 billion people have walked the planet Earth. She has that knowledge in her head. He does ask her, so magic and stuff, and she's probably the most powerful being on the planet. As a result of her being 7 and the most powerful being on the planet, he asks her, well, why do you need a bodyguard and a driver? And she tells him, well, I can't reach the pedals, which I thought was the cutest thing in the world. So I hope to get more of her. That's just too interesting, but maybe just because she's like too powerful, we're not going to get much of a showing from her. It's obviously about Dresden anyway. So that's the plot line with the duel. The other thing is that Harry, like each of the books, someone has to hire the detective. And in this case, it is his preacher hiring him to find the Shroud of Turin, the cloth that Jesus was buried in. And so this is a big deal. It was coming to America through a buyer, but on the way, these thieves intercepted it. So he's got the thieves to deal with as he searches it down. He's got the buyer to deal with, which is the kingpin of crime in these books, one Marcone. And as part of the lore here, what it is, you have the demons who fell from heaven, but they don't take direct, like I show up in your presence action. There are little other demons that have shown up. Harry's had to fight at least one. But the original ones that fell, I guess, just don't show up themselves. Instead, they issue out these coins. And people who get these coins become infected. And they'll do it on purpose, too. It's not just an accident. and they become carriers of these demons, and in exchange the demons give them powers. They have their own function, agency. They have free will still, but they're heavily under the influence of these original demons called the Fallen. And the head guy, he is something else. He's been around for a long time, and he knows what he's doing, and he is patient, and he doesn't panic, and he's after that shroud too. And he is a very big problem, and he's I think, the primary antagonist of the book. So, Marcone, now, he does something smart here. Because when you, like, I've read comics all kinds, you hear about the Kingpin of crime in Marvel, Lex Luthor in DC Comics. And the thing you wonder is, okay, I get that these guys are smart, but they're just people. And there's just way too many superheroes. It's like, why aren't they, like, constantly in prison? Because how hard would it be to put them away? You do get at least some kind of sense of it, of like the Kingpin does hire supervillains. Lex Luthor has a lot of technology on hand, but at some point it's like, are you telling me that Superman can't do a simple thing, like fly around quietly at night and put all manner of listening devices on Luthor wherever he goes and pick up enough conversation to put the man away? Same thing with Kingpin. Now, finally, I think in recent years, both Lex Luthor and Kingpin have gone to prison. But in true social commentary, like in the case of Kingpin, he got out, said he turned over a new leaf, and he was running for mayor and won. He was mayor of New York City, the Kingpin of crime. But Marcone here, what he does is he hires himself a wizard of his own to set up magical defenses. Now, Harry, he has himself, like I said, technology doesn't work well around him, but he has a kind of computer. He has a skull in his magical lab, inhabited by this spirit that he calls Bob. Now, the spirit isn't the skull. It needs a container to reside in. Otherwise, it can just float around and do whatever it wants. But it is contained there. And Harry will let it out as long as they make a deal about it. In order to appease this spirit, so like in this case, he says, I want you to go spy on Marcone and pick up whatever you can. Find out about the shroud and what he's doing. Well, in order to appease him, for example, whenever Bob enters the scene, you'll see something described as a bunch of, like, say, dirty magazines and Victoria's Secret catalogs, and then there's Bob the Skull. So that's what he appeases him with. So when he went off to spy on Marcone, he came back rather beat up and tired because of these magical defenses that got put in place. And Marcone, by the end of this, I thought he's a pretty interesting character in the previous books, but he gets quite a bit more depth here. Even in the eyes of Harry Dresden, he gets, there's a big revelation here. So now that's a great setup for a long haul character in the way this comes about. Really good. It's a really interesting book. I think this might be the best of the 5 so far, right here. A couple of things. Now, as these are about a wizard, there is a variety of magic things that are done, but I thought it's kind of a small handful of magic things that happen. Hell, Harry carries a gun half the time and gets in physical combat half the time. And so he's not a full-blown, top-of-the-line wizard most of the time, though if a thunderstorm comes by, he can draw energy out of it and really do some damage. He can summon up great power, but he has to be careful with it, and the energy isn't always there. However, in this, when I was sitting there thinking about it while reading it, that I'd like a bit more variety, along comes the spell called an entropy curse, which I would rename as bad luck on you. So you're walking by and a chimney almost falls on you. You're walking by and the electric cable snaps and tries to get you, that kind of thing. And I was like, well, I want more of that. I want more magic stuff rather than I got to go over and punch this guy. At one point, and there's something I really disagreed with, I just was like, can you do something different? Dresden is a prisoner. He's been tied up, and he's trying to summon his magic and get away, but he can't. Why? Because there's running water on him. and it acts as a like a grounding for magic power. And I'm like, well, why? This is what I'm talking about too with a variety of magic things. Why would you do that when you can just, why not someone puts an item on you that suppresses your magic power? Why not, here I'm putting an arcane circle around you that keeps you from using your magic power. Here's a mark I'm putting on you, this one magical mark I know. I put, you know, something like that, other than some running water. Something I noted in the previous book, and I was hoping for, and it continues on here, and that is Harry setting up his more personal boundaries. In the previous book, I said Harry's getting sick of this shit. And by that, it's not the villains. It's people in his life that are supposed to be his allies. They're all on the same side, and he can get pushed around a little bit and really disrespected. And one of the primary ones, he has this ally called Michael, who is himself a modern-day Knight of the Lord. Divine power. Carries around a sword. He can imbue it with divine power. Take on bad guys. He's badass. He has a wife. Wife don't like Harry. Her name's Charity. And she really doesn't like him because on the occasions that Michael has gone out with Harry on a mission, he comes back hurt and damaged. And so it's completely misplaced. And Harry realizes that. He muses upon it. It's completely misplaced. I'm not putting up with this. And, you know, she's not going to take this out on me. He doesn't like it. But they do have a verbal confrontation here. In a previous book, she walked up to him, grabbed him by his tie, and right in his face, and just cusses him out. In here, that doesn't quite happen. It's a little more even grounded. So far, 2 books, little baby steps, where Harry's like, we're not doing this. And I hope that continues along. So what you're looking at here is like an experienced but beginning level character, apparently not only growing in power but growing as a person, and that's what I'm looking forward to. These are simple. These aren't great literature. I was watching a video by Roy Reads Anything, and he's doing occult detective stuff right now, and that's what I'm doing. And so I mentioned these books, and I had to say these aren't great literature, but they're easy and they're fun. And I have to say I'm looking forward to watching Harry Dresden's growth as a character. Even though I mentioned earlier the most interesting one so far was the Archive, well, as a side character. But make no mistake, it's all about Dresden, no matter who comes up in his life. And so these just fun reading. I like it. I'm right to the next one. Jim Birch. Oh wait, something. Oh, let me do that in a minute. So the next one, Blood Rights. I did not read this yet. Didn't read the back yet. So I just went and grabbed it because I'm going one right after another. So the description here, after the little intro, is for Harry Dresden, Chicago's only professional wizard. There have been worse assignments than going undercover on the set of an adult film. What? Okay. So, as I mentioned before, these books have a little bit of a charge of sexism, which I half agree with. Some of them they're just completely overblown, and some of them is just plain old, I don't know, sexy fun, if you want to call it that. And of course, we got Bob the pervert spirit to deal with. So the fact that we're going to an adult film, okay, fine. So he's had worse assignments, like fleeing a burning building full of enraged demon monkeys, for instance. Or going toe-to-leaf with a walking plant monster who he calls the Chloro Monster. Chlorofiend is what he calls it. Still, there's something more troubling than usual about his newest case. The film's producer believes he's the target of a sinister entropy curse, which I just described, a bad luck curse. But it's the women around him who are dying in increasingly spectacular ways. So we're going to kill off a bunch of porn stars. Is that what's going to happen? Harry's doubly frustrated because he got involved with this bizarre mystery only as a favor to Thomas, his flirtatious, self-absorbed vampire acquaintance of dubious integrity. So Certainly there's a war going on between wizards and vampires, but this character Thomas kind of floating around in neutral land, but he's become a bit of a kind of an ally of Harry. Thomas has a personal stake in the case Harry can't quite figure out until his investigation leads him straight to Thomas's oversexed vampire family. Harry's about to discover that Thomas's family tree has been hiding a shocking secret, a revelation that will change Harry's life forever. And there's, little bits and pieces of hints of more of Harry's personal family history, that there's something more central and nexus about Harry, and they just haven't, Butcher hasn't revealed it yet, at least by the 5th book. So the only thing I was going to wonder about, this one has the most religion of the first 5 books, and given that it's the Shroud of Turin, and they're talking about divinity and praying and stuff, I just happened to put that one on for today's video. This is from the DC Comics Lucifer, and I'm sort of wondering if at some point Lucifer here is going to show up as an antagonist for Harry, maybe, because why not? A lot of occult detective stuff really does, and so we'll see if Jim Butcher goes full kitchen sink and throws the devil in here, because why not? That should be about it. This is my 98th video, so 99 will probably just be this one, and I guess I'll find some kind of book tag to do for number 100. The only thing at the moment, either A, I'm going to get tired of Dresden and just need a break, or next month, Absolution, the 4th Southern Reach book by Jeff Vandermeer. I will drop Dresden on the spot, and that'll be next, and then pick Dresden back up unless I've gotten sick of it, like I said. One other, I am about to show you professional video work, right? I'm just gonna, on Roy Reads Anything, like he said, I said he was doing occult detective stuff. So I'm just gonna flip this around so you can see this cover. I hope I do it right. There it is. This is An Unkindness of Shadows by John Linwood Grant, and that's supposed to be an occult detective in either the 60s or the 70s, and it's if I remember right, it's a short story collection on that character. I feel like it's on my back of my mind that I'm not going to forget about that, and eventually I will read it. But that was a cool cover, and cool covers can get you most of the time. Well, I can be fooled. But anyway, that's about it. Bud Writes is next, and see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye-bye now.